Alright, this one is about a guy named David Lane. See, a lot of people who get into law enforcement, they think they're doing a good thing, but they're not doing their jobs. They've already judged you based on your gender and your looks, whether or not you're guilty. Now, there's a man who was represented by David Lane. They recently settled out of court for $200,000. The officers did to this man the same thing that they did to me in the Arapahoe County Jail. Slammed me down to the floor and pretend it was an accident. Maybe it was. Maybe it was. But it was no accident, the bullshit that they put me through to get me so they could play like they were victimized. They called me to the door, and then they harassed me for coming to the door. Fuck you, Piggly Wigglies. So I've been texting back and forth between an officer in Colorado, and she seems pretty legit. She and I have some mutual friends in common. I save the screenshots, I always do. I save evidence of all of this shit. I need a safe place to fucking recover. Leaving me out here homeless when I'm fucking disabled. Leaving me out here homeless when I had to defend myself somehow. But the law doesn't give a fuck about people who are broke. It's set up so that people who are broke don't get an honest day in court because it's too easy to get money out of them. How do you get money out of somebody who's broke? You charge everybody else taxes to pay for it. So many taxes to lock up innocent people that there's no money for battered women's shelters, no money for battered men's shelters, no money for actual help. Pills don't get people off the streets. Now, this guy that David Lane was defending, now mind you, I sent in some stuff to David Lane to try to get him to defend me. The difference between myself and the man that he defended is that the man that he defended was in there for sexual assault. Now me, I was never charged with sexual assault. Do you know why? Because I didn't fucking sexually assault anybody, assholes. However, I don't have any rights because the words mentally ill make it okay to do whatever the fuck you want to me. That's why I want my life to be over. David Lane will defend someone who actually sexually assaulted someone and was convicted of sexual assault. This guy had his head cracked on the floor. Now, I understand that David Lane isn't the only lawyer out there. But also understand that, for me, so much shit has happened in the last year. And so many people have fucking lied to me and claimed that they wanted to help and outright lied about it. And they don't want the drama? Fuck you. You know what, Karamia? If your son was actually threatened, you wouldn't be calling it drama. You would have called the fucking cops. Did you? So I'd like to believe you, but I think you're full of shit. Just like that Kara Johnson lady. Now, this is the thing. I had to deal with these people because the cops wouldn't do their jobs, and I was being fucking assaulted and having my life threatened for shit that I didn't fucking do. These people were well fucking aware of it. But it's fine because they had other people do it. You fucking cowards. David Lane with all the shit that happened to me across the state of Colorado. Are you willing to defend me? Probably not. That's the problem that I have with lawyers. If you're homeless, you have no rights. If your family gives a fuck, mine doesn't. My family are a bunch of predators. My older brother is a drug addict. My little brother is a fucking child molester and a sexual predator. My little sister is not a sexual predator. I actually love my little sister more than the rest of them. Can't help it. She's not a terrible person. She's not the most intelligent human being, but then again, compared to me, most of you aren't intelligent. Most of the intelligent people that you know are not intelligent by comparison. The problem is that there has been so much that has happened in the last 2 years that nobody fucking cared about, that I have to find a place where I can sit down and write it all down and actually have access to stuff like this. You see that? Probably not. It's a bag of evidence that's been scoured by the police and had repeated evidence taken out of there. Now, in Sword and Scale, episodes 109 and 110, they talk about, Tim Beeson in specific, talks about how her address was on that piece of paper, that protection order, and how fucked up that was. You know what? When I was at Candace's, I made a video being pissed off about that myself. Do you know why? Because it shouldn't have been on there. A lot of the harassment that I received is because people want to make assumptions because that was on there. You know, the straightest route between Ken and Leah's and Miss Peach's house is right up Federal. Apparently, that's a few minutes from Natalie's house. Is it a few minutes drive or a few minutes walk? I didn't even know where the fuck Natalie lived. The officers in Chapel, Nebraska did not do their jobs. Now, Laura Nelson needs to be subpoenaed. So does Graham. They need to be forced to go to court. I believe in doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. That means standing up for our rights. A lot of people are all gung-ho about hating me so much that it doesn't even register in their tiny little brains that this could happen to them as well. But it won't, because the people with that mentality have never had to experience homelessness, have never had to go without family, without friends, have never been abused to this extent. Now that David Lane feller, I don't know if he's a good person or a bad person. I do know that the guy that he defended was assaulted by the police because they thought that he was a child molester or a rapist. Sexual misconduct, sexual assault, whatever. For me, being accused of that shit, being harassed and threatened by the Bollingers who got to speak to the police and have the cops listen, whereas me, the cops didn't want to listen. They wanted to help out the Bollingers. Ted Bollinger is a fucking child molester. Just like that dude that David Lane fucking protected. Now, I don't know if that guy that David Lane was the lawyer for is a child molester or if he raped somebody or what. But I do know that the way that that man was treated, I was treated that way as well. But I, unlike this man, am not a sexual predator. I was not charged with being a sexual predator. I'm not going to stop speaking out because justice will never be served if people just let it go. First of all. Second of all, these people had a chance to let it go. I let it go when I left Virginia. What kept it on the forefront of my fucking being is the fact that Natalie, Alicia, and Maddie did not. When me and Jamie Curtis had an issue, I didn't talk to her for 3 years. Why? Because she was with James, and he wouldn't let her have any guy friends. Matter of fact, the way she tells it, he wouldn't let her have any friends at all. But when he stalked Jamie to Jamie's house, Jamie blamed me. Yeah, that's life in a fucking nutshell. For me, I have nonstop panic attacks because I am constantly subject to environments where I am abused. Not all abuse is physical. You guys don't like the mean things that I have to say, but you had no problem saying those mean things to me, did you? If you can't handle the fire, stay the fuck out of the kitchen. If you don't want me talking shit, don't talk shit. The difference between these people and I is that I didn't slander their names. When I exposed Natalie for doing heroin, yeah, she was on fucking heroin, dumbass. When I said these people lied, I meant they fucking lied. All over the same shit. All over embarrassment. All of them. Some of them are embarrassed because they told lies that they wanted to get attention for. Some of them were embarrassed because I exposed the shit that they did. If they'd have told the truth instead of slandering my name and playing fucking victim, things would be different. How many times has Alicia been assaulted over her lies? I want to know that. Was she made homeless over her lies? Was she arrested and prevented from going to court over her lies? Meanwhile, this is about David Lane. David Lane, are you honest and just? You got $3.7 million for a woman who was treated not 1/10 of as terribly as I was. You got $200,000 for a sexual predator who wasn't treated 1/100th of as terribly as I was. I speak out because it's right to do so. I'm not going to stop speaking out. Not ever. What Ted did to his daughter is fucking disgusting. And the man deserves prison time for it. A lot of prison time. Now these officers, they used the mentally ill term as their excuse for not doing their jobs. Every time that I spoke with the police, someone should have been there. But these people's assumptions is what I'm dealing with. And then insane people. People like Kara Miles and Layla Johnson. People who are so fucking crazy that they're infatuated with death. What happened to me should not be allowed to happen to anyone. When I was in jail, I wrote down the names of my roommates. All of them by the time I left, hated me because I was always trying to get the police to take a report. They kept playing fucking head games. Now my dad, me and him don't get along because he's a piece of shit. However, when I was telling my dad what happened, he said, I believe you, but there's nothing you can do about it. You're right, Dad. That's because I have nobody in my corner. You wouldn't even fucking listen. There are no services to help people like me. None. We waste billions of dollars not to help people, to feign like we have services. Because really, it's more profitable not to help people out. What these officers did to me wasn't just disgusting and wrong. It was immoral. But they also allowed sexual predators like Tim Beeson and Ted Bollinger to go free. Natalie and Alicia could have told the truth. Maddie could have told the truth. Joanna Smith could have come forward and told the truth. These people were afraid to. You shouldn't care what other people think. Really? People get killed over what other people think. You guys make excuses for Ted. You make excuses for Alicia. You make excuses for the police. Meanwhile, you weren't there, and I was. I was there for those events. I saved the evidence. I don't get to show it in court. I've been prevented from doing so. I have had my human rights and my constitutional rights violated repeatedly. When I found out after reading that article that the dude that David Lane was defending was a registered sex offender, it grossed me out. You know, I sent him a friend request just a couple of days ago. Because he's friends with Darren O'Connor. The fact is, I'm not the only one going through this shit. I just happen to get the worst of it. My family didn't give a fuck. They could have done something about it. My mom and my dad both knew within a few days of Natalie disappearing that I didn't do it. Neither one of them bothered to try getting a hold of me. Neither one of them made any effort. Neither one of them defended me. Neither one of them did a goddamn thing. When I say I don't have a family, I fucking mean it. Now then there's little fucking lollygaggers like Pierre Byron. Dino, he was a friend of mine. Killed Brian Farmer, who was a friend of mine. And Jared Wallace, who was a friend of mine. Dino killed these two boys at Pierre's house, while Haley Smith egged it on. Dino tried to leave. And when he tried to leave, Haley Smith wanted to make a big woo about it. I was targeted by the Boulder police for speaking out against them. The way that my name was slandered, the crazies that I had to deal with, fuck all of you. David Lane, are you a real fucking lawyer?